Let's add some clouds to give this more perspective. So first I'm going to turn off the enable motion blur so I can work through this a little bit faster. Then I'm going to create my clouds. Now this is one instance where I like using a solid layer and not a shape layer so that I can add some feathering to the edges of the cloud, which, clouds don't have sharp edges. So I want that feathering. So press Command Y to bring up your solid settings. Choose white unless you want a different color, and I'll just call this cloud 1. Then take your shape tool. I'm going to use the ellipse tool and create your cloud. So I'm just clicking a few times to create a few different circles, like so. Now I'm going to select all of these masks by shift clicking the top one. Press F to bring up feathering and just increase the feathering to get that soft edge. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that we could animate this to make it look like the owl is flying in sort of that 3D space. The easiest is if I drop this down below the owl, and then I just do a position and scale animation. So let me do that. So let me bring up P for position and scale with S, and then set those first keyframes. Then press U to bring up those, and let me actually just move it into the place. So with my selection tool, I'm going to move it over here. That's the starting place. And then at the very end of our composition, I'm going to drop this to like 50% and move it up and to the left. So now throughout this composition, it looks kind of like the owl is flying away from the cloud, right? Okay, so let's do this one more time. So let me Command Y. Create another cloud, okay. Ellipse, I'm just doing this really fast because you know how to do it and I don't want to waste your time. Selecting all the masks, press F to bring up the feathering. All right, let me put this beneath our owl. P for position, S for scale, U to bring up those keyframes. Let's drag them to the front, and then let's go to the end and we will put the scale. Let's just do like 60%, which makes a little bit of a difference, and we'll move it up and just a little bit to the left. All right, so that's pretty cool, those clouds in the background. Let's add one more cloud that it will look like the owl is actually flying through the cloud, and we'll do that with a 3D layer. So the same thing, we can just duplicate this first cloud, press Command D, and then let's put it above our owl. Then press U on our keyboard, and let's just click the stopwatch icon to delete all of the keyframes that are on this layer for both position and scale. Then turn on 3D. Now with one keyframe, or just with position, we can create this animation. So let's bring the position forward. So with that Z space, let's actually just bring it down just a little bit. And then with the Z space, we're going to drag to the left. And I'm holding shift down until it's off of the frame, just like that. Set a keyframe, move that to the beginning. And now I'm going to, again, move that back, just like so. And what you'll notice is it's not going through our owl. Why is that? That's because our owl isn't 3D enabled either. So let me undo that. Select our owl and turn on 3D for the owl. Now back to our cloud 1. If I take the Z space for the position and drag, you'll see that once it reaches 0, it goes through the owl, which is pretty darn cool. So we're gonna just do that like so, maybe to like there, maybe move it to the left a little bit. Now let's just see what this looks like. So it's going over there kind of through the owl's wing. So now let's take this last keyframe and move it all the way to the right. Okay, so let's play through this and see how it looks. It looks pretty cool, but it kind of gets small. And if it's that close to the owl, it should be a lot bigger. So we can just take the scale, actually, bring it up really big. But now when I play through this, the cloud kind of comes out of nowhere and it goes right through our owl. And I want to move it to the left a little bit. But moving it to the left with the position keyframes now will take a little bit of too much time, and it's kind of hard to judge where it's going to be if I go here and move the position, because remember, I can't just go here and move the position to the left, because then the cloud is going to do this kind of funky turn, which doesn't really make sense. But instead, what I can use is the anchor point. So if I press A on my keyboard, the anchor point is another way to move around a layer after you've set keyframes for the position. Now with the anchor point, I can just click and drag and move this layer over to the right here at the start of the composition, maybe even a little bit more. That looks pretty good. So it's going to fly through, and it's still pretty large here on the screen, but it doesn't fly right in front of us. So remember that you always have that anchor point as sort of your backup plan if your animation starts to look a little funny with your position and you want to move things around. Now I would make a few tweaks to this. I think the clouds in the background are moving a little too fast now compared to this cloud in the front. So a quick way to fix that is, let me just close down all of our keyframes by selecting all and then pressing SS. Then let's bring up the keyframes for the white, solid, and the cloud with U. Now let me go forward to about 1 second, set keyframes for the position, scale for both of these layers, and then replace these ones at the end with those new ones I just created. So this is kind of just lengthening out the animation, making it a little bit slower for those clouds in the background. You see what I just did there? We had that whole animation that was kind of fast over 5 seconds. So I just expanded that first basically second of the animation, which makes those clouds in the background move a little bit slower. Awesome. So this is the animated owl tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you in another lesson.